Hey, how's it going, y'all? Josh here with Studio Blue Jay doing another episode of Screamsaver where I try to make cheap stuff do scary stuff. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about emulating film. I talked in the last episode about using the Dehancer plugin on Davinci Resolve because I really feel like film amps up just a creep factor, if that's the vibe that you're going for, which I love. But this time I wanted to talk about the iPhone app because last month Dehancer, the people over there, sent me their iPhone app, try and get a feel for it, see what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, do a little review on it. So if you go on YouTube, you can find a whole bunch of pro colorist and cinematographer reviews for Dehancer. But the point of this is kind of trying to see what you can do with cheap hardware. So that being said, I have been using this iPhone SE. It's the cheapest iPhone that you can buy. It's probably the slowest iPhone that you can buy still. It's like $400 new like 2 years ago. So if you watch the last episode, the Dehancer plugin on Davinci Resolve on my super cheap Acer laptop worked out extremely well. I'll be honest, the Dehancer app on my super cheap iPhone did not work out so well. But honestly, kind of the point of this series is to look at the drawbacks that you have when you have really cheap hardware, because that's what you have, and to see if you can get around it, if it's possible, is it worth your time, or is it just completely like a no-go. So Dehancer on the iPhone is absolutely not a no-go. The thing is, it does not play super nice with my iPhone. Honestly, I feel like most people have a nicer iPhone than mine. If you're trying to edit on it, probably have an iPhone 12 or 13 or something like that, you're probably going to do way better. I'm not sure exactly if it's the processor that slows the process down. I think it's got like 4 gig of RAM. I'm not really sure how exactly iPhones work, but the Dehancer app definitely struggles, especially with playback, things like that. If you watched the last episode, it's kind of funny because I had a hard time with the dust and scratches effects crashing on my laptop. That actually doesn't happen on the iPhone, so I can actually get some of that, even with importing stuff from my Sony camera into the iPhone. But the live playback and the way that it handles the footage, my iPhone struggles quite a bit. But if you're like me, you don't really have a choice in what iPhone you use. So the whole point of this is supposed to be, can you do it? And the answer is yes, which is awesome because the Dehancer emulation of film looks great on iPhone footage. So if you want to check out how the iPhone Dehancer app works on an iPhone SE from 2022, let's check it out. All right, y'all. I got my super slow, super budget iPhone pulled up here, and we're just going to check out some 4K footage in Dehancer. I'm going to open it up, and something funny that happened after I did the intro, after I shot the intro, they pushed out an update. So I'm on 4.0 now, and a lot of the issues with this update, a lot of the issues that I had before have been fixed. So that's pretty awesome. So I thought we could take a look at footage shot on this phone and then footage I shot on my Sony and imported over with an SD card reader. And I just wanted to show you how this phone performs. So I'm going to open up this 4K footage that I took and applied the last edit there. So this is 4K footage that I shot with just a basic camera app on the iPhone. And let's just see how it plays by itself. Pretty smooth, but there's no effects on there, okay? So let's say that you're looking for like a creepy film vibe. I'm just going to apply the last effect that I had on there. Ooh, it's nice and dark and, you know, kind of blue. It's got pretty much all the big heavy effects on there just to kind of test them out. It's got gate weave, film breath, you know, film damage, blue emulation. It's got pretty much everything on there. You can tell that my phone is not super fast when I hit play, because it kind of turns into a slideshow. But it used to be a lot worse, so whatever update they did is definitely helping. And for me, when I'm doing a lot of this type of stuff, you know, I'm used to working with really cheap hardware and things like that. You don't really get real-time playback. I'm used to it. And honestly, with a lot of color grading stuff, you can just look at a still and do most of your work. The only thing is, like, if you know, you see this like little speck of dust or scratch or whatever that is, if you're trying to really see what that effect looks like, see, it's kind of hard to tell, that little stuff, just because it's so the playback's kind of stuttery. That's the kind of thing that you're going to have to like export out and then check out what the setting did and then go back and tweak it and export it out again. And for me, working with older hardware, that's just kind of a part of it. Nothing new there. I don't think it's anything to do with their app. I just have to assume it's my phone. But yeah, totally doable, totally workable. I mean, you don't have to use Dehancer for horror. Their film emulation is pretty awesome in general, but I just feel like if you're trying to knock off a little bit of that digitalness, most of the iPhone footage, unless you get like the really nice, like new cameras, it's got like a little bit of a digital vibe, which is fine. But if you're trying to get rid of some of that and give it a little bit more character, and you're trying to use Dehancer to do it, I really feel like you can. You got a couple of drawbacks, but export time being like a big one. It does take a long time to export, but it's doing a lot, and the quality is really good along with the effects, so I totally think it's worth it. So this is 4K footage straight out of my Sony a7 III, and I just took the SD card out, put it in an SD card reader, and hooked it right up to my phone, pulled off the file, and opened it in Dehancer. So it hasn't been graded or anything. I just hit play there. Doesn't need to have any sound, but yeah, as you can see, it does not like it when I zoom in while I'm playing, but it handles the footage fine. All right, and we're just going to apply that same effects that we had for the last one. So hit play. I mean, honestly, that's pretty good. It's a pretty chunky file coming out of my Sony for this little processor on this old phone to be handling it with all these effects that we have applied. Pretty awesome. And I mean, check that out. I mean, that's creepy, man. That's some creepy stuff. And there's nothing even going on there. It was just snow. But, if I hold down on it, that's the original. Taking it down to this. And I know most people probably aren't taking their 4K footage from their full frame camera and putting it into the old phone. But, there's been a few times where I didn't have a laptop and all I have is my phone. So this is kind of just showing you that your performance is fine. I mean, it's probably going to take a long ass time to encode and render. But it's totally doable. Totally doable, which is pretty awesome, honestly, because their film emulation is, not just for horror, but just de-digitalizing, which for me is kind of a big deal, especially with cheaper cameras. Of course, this is my Sony, but sometimes you don't have a laptop to edit on. So basically, the two big questions are, can my iPhone SE from 2022 handle Dehancer with 4K video? The answer is yes. Either from the iPhone or from another camera. Totally works. The other question is it worth the subscription? So, in full disclosure, Dehancer sent me this, so, I didn't pay for it. But if it were me, I would probably just stick with the desktop Dehancer plugin for Davinci Resolve that I did my video on a couple weeks ago, because I just prefer editing on a laptop in a bigger screen, like if I can. And if you have both, I don't really know if it's worth it unless you have a really small budget, because the Dehancer plugin for Davinci is not cheap. It's like $500, that thing. So, if you're on a budget and you're doing a lot of iPhone editing, I think it's totally worth a subscription. So for me, I would say if you have the money, I would go with the desktop version if you can. I use Davinci Resolve, but they also have it for the Adobe Suite. But if you're on a budget, or if you mostly do your editing on an iPhone, totally worth it, I would say. And even if you have an older iPhone, we just thought it works. And the little stuff can really go a long way for making things scary, especially when you're on a low budget. So yeah, for both platforms, it's going to be a thumbs up for me. Honestly, the update really improved my experience on the iOS app, so that's pretty awesome. I'm going to post these effects rendered out on these videos after this so you can tell, but yeah, man, if you got an old iPhone, you can totally do this. So thanks for watching.